Hi guys, welcome back to the Financial Interest YouTube channel. My name's Dan. So the quarterly earnings season is upon us. So I thought that this is a really good opportunity to kind of go into a little bit of detail about what I'm kind of looking for when analysing the quarterly earnings calls. So we'll look at where I get the information from, the details that I'm looking for, look at a few examples as well so we can kind of get a bit of a better understanding. So let's get on with the video. So there's really two main reasons for me analysing the quarterly earnings. And the first one is if this is a watch list company for me. So this should be a company that's kind of got meaning to you. Maybe you're kind of quite knowledgeable in the industry, you're passionate about that particular industry, and you kind of want to find out more about the companies. So that's the first example. And the second one would be monitoring companies that I already own. So this would be to just keep an eye on how their earnings are progressing. Is the company kind of tracking along as I expect it to? Are there any kind of surprises there with the earnings call or anything like that? And during this time, I'll also possibly make some adjustments to my valuation of the company. So let's look at a few places where I get the information. Now, the first one is off the actual company's investor relations website. So you can easily do a quick Google search of the company and then go to investor relations, and that will actually bring up a lot of the information there for you. And other websites I regularly use are Seeking Alpha. I get a lot of information on there, like read news articles and things like that. And you can also get the transcripts on there on the free version. And I also listen to Earnings Cast. Now this is really good because you can actually just hear the audio from the conference call that they do. And also, if I'm out on the go, I'll use an app called Borsa, and this is something that's just an app to listen to the earnings calls, because this is something that's available in the UAE for me, so it's kind of easy to listen to on the go. I believe Earnings Cast also has an app, but that's not available to me locally. So the information I'm looking for is the press release and presentation, the 10Q filing, the earnings call, and the transcript, which is also has a Q&A session as well from analysts and investors. So we'll jump in to look at a quick example of Facebook's press release. And obviously what we're looking for here is the performance indicators from the company. So they'll mention the key financial statements, but they'll also go into other important key metrics that they use to assess their performance. So here we're in Facebook's earnings presentation from their recent quarter, and we'll just jump down and look at a few of the key kind of metrics that they use to assess their performance. So here we are, we've got Facebook's daily active users. So you can see that this is in millions. So this is actually like the most recent quarter. This is 1.91 billion daily active users. And this is purely on the Facebook platform. And it also gives you kind of a quick breakdown of the geography of that. And then they've got the same with monthly active users. And this goes into the revenue, so average revenue per user, which is also known as ARPU. So that's one of the important measures that they're using to kind of ascertain the revenue per person. I'm not going to dive into great detail now. I just wanted to show you the kind of measures that they use to assess the performance. And then they've got family daily active people. So this one is actually having someone log into at least one of their apps every day. So this would be Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, or WhatsApp. And you can see that this is showing an increasing trend. And now the kind of the most sort of staggering one I find is the family monthly active people. So this is someone who uses one of the apps at least once a month. And that's 3.51 billion. And I had a quick look to see the number of people who are using the internet, and across the globe it's thought to be about 4.66 billion. So if you think of that, Facebook has got 3.51 of that 4.66 billion, which is actually like 75% of the people in the world who use the internet use one of Facebook's apps at least once a month, which is crazy when you think about it. That's really like a lot of market penetration that they've got. And then this gives the family average revenue per person. I'm moving on to show the revenue, and this shows the split as well between advertising and other. And it'd probably be hard for you to actually even see the other, because such a high percentage of Facebook's revenue is coming in through advertising. And what it would be good as an investor is to start to see the kind of split changing a bit, to see them bringing in some other revenue streams. And it will also show the revenue by user geography. So in the case of Apple, I would actually be looking for the kind of the split of their revenues by product category. So it's kind of interesting to see the increase quarter over quarter. So iPhone, they've managed to significantly increase based on the same quarter last year. You can see that there, and they give the amount increase, so that's a 50% increase on iPhones, 16 on Mac, 12 on iPad, 36% on wearables, and 33% on services. So what I'm looking for here is trends. So for example, is the services area kind of increasing relative to some of the hardware categories? Because that's something I'd quite like to see, because the services tends to be a higher margin sector. So this is just to give you an idea of what I'm looking for when I'm kind of going into the report. So you saw a few of the things I'd be looking for from Facebook and Apple, but you'll also find, depending on what particular businesses you're looking at, you might be looking into retail stores or restaurants. And in that case, one of the important things to look for is, the growth in same-store sales. So it just really depends on the type of business you're looking at. And so the next thing I want to dive into detail in would be the 10Q filing. So within the 10Q filing, it's split into a few different sections. Obviously, the main thing I want to look through is the financial statements. So that's the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statements. But I'm also interested as well in the management commentary, because that's going to shed a little bit of light on the results, maybe just beyond the numbers as well. And I also want to check the risk factors, make sure there's no new risk factors that have kind of appeared in this quarter versus their most recent annual filing. And then also look into legal proceedings, particularly in the technology areas. And with Facebook, they tend to get a lot of kind of legal cases against them. And usually this is around privacy and data and that kind of thing, because the industry moves so fast. Sometimes the law takes a while to catch up, and you'll quite often see lawsuits, and then they'll have to pay out large amounts of money to different people. So that's always something to keep an eye on, which is mentioned in the statements as well. So we'll go and take a quick look at the financial statements. So obviously with the income statement, now we're looking at Apple. Obviously I want to see the growth of revenue or sales. So we can see that the same previous quarter last year was just under 60 billion, and they've increased this time to 81 billion. And we can see the cost of sales here. So they split that into products and services. And what we're looking for is obviously it was an increase in gross margin and also the net as well. We want to see those margin percentages increase. So we can see that the net income has increased there. So the profits are increasing. We're looking for the increase in earnings per share, which we can see there. So we'll jump in here to the cash flow statements, and we want to see the cash generated by operating activities. We want to be seeing a growth in the free cash flow. So I'm not going to work it out right now, but we can see that the free cash flow would be the cash generated from operating activities minus the capex, which is the payments for acquisition of property, plant and equipment. So we can see here that that's the 83,838 minus the 7,862. And we can also look how the money on financing activities, where this is where it'll show where they raised debt, paid off any debt. Also, you will see repurchases of common stock. So Apple have been buying back a lot of their stock and also paying out dividends. So this is one way that they can return value to their investors. This is always good as long as they don't have better ways to spend money and grow in the business. And on the balance sheet, obviously we're looking for the main thing is really to see the assets. The assets are increasing. So we can see here for Facebook, we've got 159,316 from last year and 176,009. So we can see that the assets are increasing. We can look at the total liabilities, and the total liabilities have slightly increased, but that's offset by the fact that the assets have increased by more. So we can see here that actually our stockholder equity is increased as a result. So it's now 138,227 for that. and there you'll see how it balances out, because the total liabilities and stockholder equity is 170,609 equal to the total assets. And after I've kind of gone over the financial statements, I'll always listen to the earnings call as well, because this is where you'll hear the management discuss the results and also open up to a Q&A with any analysts. And this is kind of a good opportunity to listen to any questions that the analysts or investors have, see how the management answers the questions. Quite often they'll give a little bit of extra colour to the results. And for me, it kind of helps if I'm actually reading the transcript while listening to the audio. It seems to just sink in a little bit better that way. But obviously that might not work for someone else. It's just a personal preference that I've got. And by listening to this, you really get a good insight of what management's prepared to say. Sometimes they'll be giving forward guidance, and then they might get some probing questions on that. And it's interesting to hear, like how they answer the questions, or if they sort of push them away a little bit. So you can kind of get some good insight from listening to that as well. So it's good to kind of get in the habit of listening to the quarterly and annual earnings calls and reading the reports. And obviously the more you do it, the better you get as well. So I'd highly recommend just reading and listening to as many as you can to kind of develop your skills in that as well. So that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a like. And also consider subscribing to the channel as well if you haven't already. It really helps me to try and build a community here. And let us know what you think about the video in the comments below. Do you always listen to the quarterly earnings calls, or maybe you focus more on the annual calls? I'm always interested to know, so please leave that in the comments below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.